So, hand pulling. What will you need? You'll need a bucket of water, not a lot. I don't like to pull out a lot so that I'm not too tempted to use a lot of water. I like to use straight out of the bag, slice it off. That way you can get as many handles as you want. So I'll just cut it off, make a few. So right out of the get-go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I have an extra one over here, so it's 5. So that way you're already set up for making 5. I think you have to make 8, right? So it's exactly like how it sounds. You're going to get it wet. You're not going to get it at one pull. You're going to use your hands and really just downward motion. No, you don't want a lot of water, just exactly like on the wheel. You don't want a lot of water, but you want to meet that sweet spot where it's going to pull the wall. And I really use my knuckle. See here? I use my knuckle to kind of form it. Okay, this is going to take forever, so I made a pre-made one. Again, you're the innovator of your mug, so you want to think about the thickness of your handle. What works best for it? Is it a thinner handle? Is it a medium-sized handle? What works for it? So I really want to envision that when I am doing this. And you can see I'm using 2 fingers, really just to pull my handle. When I start off with like my whole fist, but throughout it, I'm just pulling with 2 fingers, really slowly. You don't want it to break off, so don't go too fast. Again, not a lot of water. I'm not using a lot. I'm collecting slip on my hand, so I could really just use that when I go. I'm shaping it as I go. Some people like to pull off the mug. I'm not at that level yet, so I pull from here. And I want to be careful. I don't want to warp it where it's going to go sideways. I want to make sure I'm going straight, obviously. So at this point you want to think, okay, how long do I want the mug? Not the mug, the handle. So it's a bit of a process. Again, I'm using my knuckle, to use that indentation. I think if you've held a mug, there's like that, I don't know if we have one, but like there's a bit of indentation for your thumb to rest inside of, if you're that kind of person that holds a mug that way. And it's just pretty. I like it. This takes patience, but patience is a virtue in this practice. I've even done this with like really skinny poles. To give that like really modernist look of a really thin handle, you can go that route too. But again, like Adam said, you want to think of the cup itself. Is it heavy or is it thin? If it's thin, you could probably pull it off with a thinner handle. So you really want to think about that. You're not gonna get it in one go, just like on the wheel. Kind of in harmony with the clay here.
Oh yeah, Casey, may I add a consideration?
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes when you're pulling a handle, the lower part might end up accidentally getting a little bit thicker than the rest, so there'll be
Yeah.
a weak spot. How do you go about getting rid of that?
Making sure that you have an even amount of pressure when you pull. So if I am at least a little bit too off, there are parts where it could be too thin and too thick. So making sure that my pressure is consistent throughout. And I really like my handles to look pretty square. See that?
Yeah.
So I like to keep it that way. So then I'll go in between and pull it this way. I get it for the camera here. And that also shapes it. Make just a little bit longer and then we should be good. Any questions while I'm doing this? I can answer. None so far?
Why do you prefer to pull your handles versus, making them any other way?
I think they're faster, in my opinion, because I mean, you could cut them out as many as you want. And this is just the way I was taught from the get-go, and I think I'm just comfortable with it. And I think it fits my style because it has that very like homemade look, while when you cut it out of the slab, it looks very contemporary. So if you want to do a contemporary route, slab's the way to go. I don't know. To me, it looks very traditionalist, and I almost like it. And I feel like I can manipulate it a little bit more to what I want it to look like. Okay. So at this point, I got a touch too wet. At this point, ideally, you want it to form its own natural curve. So what people will do is on the bucket, they'll just kind of stick it on there and let it hang, and it'll form its own natural curve. And then once it's dry enough to put onto the mug, they'll slice it off just like how Adam did. It's the same process. You want to make sure that it's flush and then attach it on. I think that's why I like it, is because the clay is its own person and makes its own shape, and it's different every time. You won't get the same look every time you do it. And so yeah, that's how to pull a handle. Any questions? Yes.
How long should you wait between pulling the handle and attaching it?
Well, you want it to be the equal amount of what you have for the mug itself and the handle. So you want it to, obviously, like you want it to marry well, so you want it to be pretty equal. So if this is leather hard, you want this to get leather hard as well. So I would stick this in the damp bar and let this dry outside or something like that, until they meet that sweet spot. Yeah. Anything else?